My fiancé's family called me poor and unworthy during engagement dinner, so I ended it publicly and made sure everyone knew the truth. They tried to hide. I'm a 29-year-old guy, and I never thought falling in love would turn into a public humiliation. I've always been the kind of man who believed that hard work, honesty, and patience could build anything, love included. I didn't grow up rich. My parents worked blue-collar jobs, and I learned early that nothing in life came without effort. I carried that same mindset into adulthood, working as an IT technician for a small company. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills, and I took pride in doing my job right. That's when I met Sophia. She walked into my life like someone who belonged in a different movie altogether, graceful, confident, always dressed like she stepped out of a magazine. We met at a tech conference of all places. She was handling the marketing side for her father's firm. I helped her fix a connection issue, and somehow that small act sparked something real. Or at least I thought it was real. Our worlds couldn't have been more different. She grew up surrounded by wealth, weekend trips to Paris, and designer everything. I grew up fixing old computers in my parents' basement and saving every paycheck to stay ahead of the bills. But with Sophia, none of that seemed to matter. She liked that I was grounded, and I admired how fiercely ambitious she was. When we started dating, I felt like the luckiest guy alive. Her parents were polite when we met, too polite, in that rehearsed, careful way that made me feel like they were performing courtesy. Still, I brushed it off. Love was supposed to conquer differences, right? That's what I told myself every time I noticed her mother's thin smile or her father's disinterested handshake. I didn't realize then that love alone wasn't enough to bridge the gap between our worlds. But I'd learn that soon, at a dinner that would change everything. When Sophia said yes to my proposal, I honestly thought I'd won the lottery of life. I'd spent weeks saving for that ring. Nothing flashy, just simple and elegant, the kind I knew she'd like. The night I proposed, she cried, said I made her feel safe, and promised her parents would eventually see how good I was for her. I believed her. I always did. The months that followed felt like a dream. We planned everything together, venues, colors, even the playlist for the ceremony. Sophia was radiant, talking about our future, our home, and how she wanted a quiet life despite her family's wealth. For a while, I convinced myself that their approval didn't matter. I told myself I wasn't marrying them, I was marrying her. But deep down, I could feel the pressure tightening like a noose. It started with small remarks. Her mother would joke that she hoped I wouldn't bring my thrift store taste into their family photos. Her father once asked if I planned to upgrade my car before the wedding. They said it all with a smile, but every word carried poison. I'd tell Sophia afterward, trying to laugh it off. "Your mom really doesn't hold back, huh?" I said once. She sighed. "They just don't know you like I do. Give them time." So I did. I bit my tongue through dinners that felt like job interviews, smiled through conversations that made me feel like an outsider. I kept thinking that once they saw how much I loved her, they'd change their minds. When her family offered to host our engagement, dinner at one of the city's most expensive restaurants, I took it as a good sign, a chance to show them I belonged. I didn't know it would become the night they'd strip away everything I believed about love, respect, and worth. The night of our engagement dinner, I felt like every nerve in my body was wired to hope. I'd spent days rehearsing polite conversations in my head, promising myself I wouldn't embarrass Sophia or say anything too ordinary. I wore the best suit I owned, a dark gray one I'd saved up for months to buy, and picked up a bouquet of lilies. Her mother's favorite, just to make a good impression. The restaurant was the kind of place, where a glass of water probably cost more than my weekly groceries. Everything gleamed gold, trim, crystal lights, waiters who looked like they were trained not to blink. When I arrived, Sophia's family was already seated at a long table. Her father at the head like a king on his throne. "Ah, you made it," her mother said, glancing at my suit with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. I was worried traffic might have been too unpredictable. Her tone dripped with condescension. I laughed it off, pretending I didn't hear the insult hidden inside. Sophia, to her credit, looked stunning. She reached for my hand under the table and whispered, "You look perfect." That one small act steadied me in till her father raised a glass. To Sophia and Daniel, he said, pausing as though he had to remind himself of my name. May this union bring you happiness and, hopefully, a little financial wisdom. Laughter rolled around the table, light but cruel. My stomach twisted. I tried to keep smiling, to remind myself it was just nerves. But with every toast, every smirk, the air grew heavier. By dessert, I'd gone quiet. The jokes about simple tastes and budget-friendly love didn't stop. Sophia smiled awkwardly through it, her hand tightening on mine. But she never said a word to stop them. I told myself to stay calm, that it was just one awkward night. But somewhere deep inside, something started to crack by the time the main course arrived. I was running out of ways to laugh things off. Every comment had a hidden blade, and I could feel them slicing deeper with each toast. Sophia's brother Adam had been quiet most of the night until he stood up, smirking, holding his champagne glass. "Let's give a round of applause," he said, voice booming, to the man brave enough to marry above his paycheck. Laughter erupted. Real loud laughter. Not the polite kind mocking, sharp cutting. My chest tightened as I looked around the table. Everyone was laughing. Even Sophia's father leaned back with a grin, tapping his glass like this was entertainment. I looked to Sophia for rescue for anything. She sat frozen, eyes on her plate, mouth shut. That silence hurt more than any insult could. "Adam," I said quietly, forcing a smile. "That's not really—" "Oh, come on," he interrupted, chuckling. "We're just joking." "You're part of the family now, right?" His mother chimed in. "Yes, Daniel, don't be so sensitive. We're just teasing. We like to keep things ... lighthearted." Lighthearted? That word echoed in my head while my dignity burned away. I wanted to get up, to leave, but I kept thinking of Sophia, of all the sacrifices I'd made just to be there. So, I stayed. I sat there and smiled like a fool while they feasted on my discomfort. Then her father lifted his glass again. "To my daughter's engagement. May she never forget where she came from, and where she's going." He gave me a look that said exactly what he meant. I wasn't part of where she's going. Sophia finally whispered, "Dad, please." But her voice was so faint, it barely counted as defense. That was the moment it hit me. I wasn't part of their family dinner, I was the evening's entertainment. And for the first time that night, I stopped pretending to smile. I don't remember the exact moment my smile disappeared, but I do remember the silence that followed. For a split second, the whole table seemed to realize I'd stopped playing along. My fork rested against the plate, untouched. My heartbeat was so loud it drowned out the clinking of glasses. Sophia noticed first. "Daniel, are you okay?" she whispered, her voice trembling slightly. I looked at her, not angry, not shouting, just hollow. "I'm fine," I said. But my tone betrayed me. I wasn't fine. I was humiliated, stripped bare in front of people who saw me as a charity, a project rather than the man their daughter loved. Her mother leaned in with a fake laugh. "Oh dear, don't take things so seriously. We were only joking." Joking. That word broke something in me. Because it wasn't a joke, not when her father's smirk carried superiority, or when her brother's laughter echoed like mock applause. It wasn't a joke when Sophia sat silent while her family dissected my worth like I was an exhibit on display. I placed my napkin on the table, carefully, like I didn't want to make a scene. "Excuse me?" I said quietly, standing up. I didn't wait for anyone's permission. I walked toward the restroom, feeling a dozen eyes follow me, judging, whispering inside the mirror's reflection. I barely recognized my self-read eyes, jaw tight, face drained of everything that once looked proud. I thought about all the extra hours I'd worked to buy that ring, the countless times I'd defended her family's behavior to my friends. For what? So I could sit at their table and be told I was beneath them. No, not anymore. I took a deep breath, straightened my tie, and looked at my reflection one last time. If they wanted to see who I really was, I'd show them. Just not in the way they expected. When I walked back to the table, the air shifted. Conversations dulled to whispers. Forks paused mid-air. Sophia's father gave me a smug look, like he expected an apology. I didn't give him one. Instead, I reached for my glass and stood. The calmest I'd ever been in my life. Before we finished dinner, I said, voice steady, I'd like to make a quick toast. Sophia's eyes widened. Daniel, maybe we should just know? I cut in softly. It won't take long. I lifted my glass, forcing a polite smile. First, thank you all for tonight. It's enlightening. I've learned a lot about family, respect, and what money can't buy. A few people chuckled uneasily. I turned my gaze to Sophia's parents. You've spent the evening reminding me of what I don't have. Wealth, status, prestige. But let me remind you of something. Her mother's face tightened. Her father straightened, sensing the shift. Your daughter, I continued, told me she admired honesty more than luxury. She said she was proud of the man I was until now. But maybe she forgot to mention something important. I looked at Sophia then, not with anger, but sorrow. Like how she begged me to lie about her debts to protect your family's reputation, or how your company's been quietly downsizing because of unpaid taxes. Gasps rippled through the table. Sophia's face went pale. Daniel, stop please. I set my glass down. I won't marry into lies. Not when respect was never part of the deal. Then I took off the engagement ring, placed it gently beside her untouched plate, and said, You can keep this. It fits your world better than it ever fit mine. Without another word, I turned and walked out, leaving a stunned silence behind me, one that no amount of wealth could fill. The next morning, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. At first, I thought it was friends checking in, but when I opened it, I froze. Someone at that dinner had recorded my entire toast stand. It was everywhere. A video titled, Man Exposes Fiancée's Rich Family During Engagement Dinner was blowing up across social media. Millions of views, thousands of comments. I didn't know whether to laugh or throw up. Half the comments praised me. Finally, someone with a backbone. Others mocked me. He's just bitter, he couldn't afford her. My stomach churned reading them. I hadn't meant for any of this to go public. I just wanted my dignity back. Then came the calls. My boss called first, voice cautious. Daniel, you're trending. Just keep your head down, all right? Even my parents saw it. My mom left a voicemail that broke me a little. We're proud of you, son. Don't let anyone make you feel small again. Meanwhile, Sophia tried calling over and over. I didn't answer. What was left to say? She'd let me drown that night. Her silence had been approval. Still, a part of me hated how much I missed her. That's the cruel part about love you. Don't stop caring just because someone ruins it. Within days, the story snowballed. People began digging into her family's company. Threads popped up online about shady financial dealings, unpaid contractors, and fake charity donations. The same people who laughed at me were now facing public scrutiny, and me. I didn't feel victorious, just empty. I never wanted revenge on their respect. But now, my private heartbreak had become everyone's entertainment. When the doorbell rang that evening, and I saw her standing there, eyes red, hands trembling, I knew the storm wasn't over yet. When I opened the door, Sophia stood there like a ghost, makeup smeared, hair undone, eyes swollen from crying. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The silence between us was heavier than any insult her family had ever thrown. Can I come in? She whispered. I hesitated but stepped aside. She walked in, clutching her purse like it was the only thing keeping her from falling apart. My apartment suddenly felt too small, too quiet. Daniel, she started, voice cracking. You ruined everything. My parents are furious. The company's in chaos. Reporters keep calling. I cut her off. I ruined everything? Sophia, your family humiliated me in front of everyone. You sat there and watched. Tears filled her eyes. I didn't know what to do. My dad, he would have cut me off. I panicked. I thought if I just stayed quiet, it would end. I laughed bitterly. It did end. Just not the way you expected. She stepped closer, trembling. I still love you, Daniel. I swear I do. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Please, can we just talk? We can fix this. Her voice broke on the word fix. I wanted to believe how I really did, but the image of her silence at that dinner haunted me. That silence had spoken louder than any apology could. "You didn't stand up for me when it mattered," I said quietly. "You let them treat me like I was beneath you. Love without respect isn't love, it's dependency." She started crying harder, reaching for my hand, but I pulled away. The pain in her eyes almost made me falter, but I'd already fallen too many times before. "Goodbye, Sophia," I said, opening the door. She didn't move. She just stared at me, broken, desperate, and too late. After Sophia left, my apartment felt like a vacuum. No sound, no movement, just the weight of everything collapsing at once. I sat on the couch for hours, staring at the empty ring box I'd once guarded like a treasure. My chest ached, not from anger anymore, from the quiet realization that the person I loved never really saw me as her equal. The internet didn't help. Every time I opened my phone, there were new comments, new debates. Some people turned my story into memes. Others called me a hero. But the truth was, I didn't feel like either. I felt hollow. I stopped going to work for a few days. My boss left a message saying, "Take all the time you need." Translation: "We don't want the drama in the office." Even friends I thought I could lean on started acting weird around me, half pity, half curiosity. Everyone wanted to talk about the viral guy, but no one really cared how Daniel the man was doing at night. The memories came back in flashes: her father's smirk, her mother's condescending tone, Sophia's silence. I'd lie awake until dawn, replaying every word, wondering what I could have done differently. Was I too proud? Too blunt? Or had I just been naive to believe love could cross a line that money had drawn? The lowest moment came one evening when I found one of our old photo zoos laughing in the park, holding hands, no pretenses, no masks. I stared at it until my vision blurred. I whispered, "Was any of it real?" and felt something inside me finally break. For the first time, I wasn't angry at Sophia or her family. I was angry at myself for believing I had to prove I was enough. That night, my phone buzzed again. A message from an unknown number. Just for words that would change everything. "Are you the dinner guy?" At first, I thought the message was a prank. "Are you the dinner guy?" I almost ignored it until another message followed. "This is Megan Shaw from the Daily Chronicle. I'd love to interview you about what happened. Your story is sparking a bigger conversation about class discrimination. Are you open to talking?" I stared at the screen, unsure whether to laugh or delete it. But something in her tone, professional, not exploitative, made me pause. For once, someone wasn't treating me like gossip. They wanted my side. The next day I met her at a small cafe downtown. She was calm, respectful, nothing like the reporters chasing headlines. I told her everything, the jokes, the silence, the humiliation. She listened without interrupting once. When I finished, she said, "You didn't just stand up for yourself, Daniel. You stood up for everyone who's been made to feel small for not being born rich." Her words hit harder than I expected. Maybe this story could be more than pen, it could mean something. A week later, the article dropped. "The Price of Respect. The Man Who Walked Away from Privilege" went viral overnight. But this time, the comments were different. People shared their own stories of being looked down on. I wasn't a meme anymore, I was a mirror. Then came the email that shifted my entire trajectory. A tech company reached out after reading the article. They said they admired my composure and offered me a new position with a salary triple what I was earning. I accepted. Not out of revenge, but renewal. For the first time in months, I slept peacefully. The world finally saw what Sophia's family never did. My worth had nothing to do with their wealth, but just when I thought I'd moved on, karma decided to make its grand entrance. It started with a headline: "Harrington Industries under investigation for tax evasion and fraud." I nearly dropped my coffee when I saw it. Sophia's father's company, the same one they'd flaunted as proof of their superiority, was collapsing in real time. Every news outlet picked it up within hours. The article detailed everything: unpaid taxes, hidden offshore accounts, fake donations under their charity wing. Anonymous insiders had come forward. And the timing, just months after my story had gone viral. Some even speculated that the attention from my dinner speech had triggered the audits. My phone buzzed nonstop again. But this time, people weren't laughing, they were connecting dots. Guess the poor guy wasn't the liar after all, one comment read. Another said, looks like karma wears a suit too. I couldn't help but smile bitterly. I hadn't wanted this, but I couldn't deny the poetic symmetry of it all. That evening, Sophia messaged me for the first time in weeks. Her text was long, shaky, filled with guilt. She said her parents had lost everything, that the investigation tore their lives apart. She apologized again for her silence, for her cowardice, for not standing beside me when it mattered. I just wanted to tell you, she wrote, you were right about everything. You didn't ruin us. We ruined ourselves. I stared at her message for a long time before typing back just 2 words, I know. Then I deleted our chat entirely. There was nothing left to say. For the first time since that awful dinner, I felt something close to peace. Not triumph, just release. The truth had done what I never could, expose the rot beneath their perfection, and yet, as quiet as my apartment felt that night, I sensed the final chapter wasn't about them any more, it was about me. A few months later, life felt different. Not glamorous, not cinematic, just peaceful. I'd settled into my new job, earning more than I ever had, but what mattered most was how it felt. I walked into work with my head high. No need to prove anything to anyone. I'd stopped measuring my worth against someone else's reflection. One evening, I decided to treat myself. Out of all places, I chose the same restaurant where everything had fallen apart. It felt symbolic, like revisiting an old battlefield now reclaimed by calm. The Mater D recognized me instantly, probably from that viral video, but this time there was no pity in his eyes. Only respect. I ordered my favorite dish and sat alone near the window. The city lights glowed against the glass, and for the first time I wasn't haunted by memories, I was grateful for them. Every insult, every silent betrayal had led me here. Halfway through my meal, an older man at a nearby table nodded to me. You're that guy from the article, right? He asked softly. I smiled. Yeah, I guess I am, he chuckled. Good for you. Most people would have kept quiet. As he turned back to his dinner, I realized something important. The victory wasn't in revenge, it was in walking away and building a life they couldn't touch. When I left, I paused at the restaurant's entrance, looking back at the table where I once sat surrounded by cruelty. The same table where I lost a fiancé but found myself. I whispered under my breath, respect can't be bought, and love without it isn't love at all. Then I stepped out into the cool night air, the door closing softly behind Minada's and ending, but as peace finally earned.